With the men's basketball team mired in a 9-game losing streak, it begs the question, will this team have the worst record in program history?
Indiana went 7-17 in the 1969-1970 season under head coach Jerry Oliver. After a tough loss to Minnesota, the Hoosiers are already 5-13 and on the verge of having the worst record in Hoosier basketball history. We're on campus to see what the students think of the possibility of the Hoosiers breaking this record.
I do not think they will have the worst record because with yesterday's game against Minnesota, they showed much improvement and that they can hang with the good teams. So I think they're going to improve this season and start to win some games.
I don't think so because I think in the last game they played pretty well. They played with a lot of heart.
Well, I think that if they just work a little bit harder, they need a better teamwork. They're doing pretty good, but they just need to push it and, really get together. And I don't know, everybody needs to do their part and everybody needs to be working together just as hard.
It's just a young team. Usually young teams start out, working with each other, seeing how you want to play and stuff. But I think they'll get better as the year goes on. You can already tell improvements every game that they play.
Develop the freshmen, because if we can't do that, we are not going to win anything next year either.
I think it's a little too late for this season, but I have a lot of hope in the coach. I feel like he's a good coach. He's doing a good job. I mean, there are a lot of young players. So I think next year or maybe the year after that, we'll do great. But this year, I think it's pretty much over.
As you can see, the student body thinks the Hoosiers have a chance of winning enough games so that they will not be considered the worst team in school history. I guess we'll just have to wait till the end of the season and see. On campus, I'm AJ Schub, Hoosier Sports Night.
All right, thanks, AJ. There's a new #1 in the men's collegiate basketball ranks, and with March Madness approaching rapidly, Ben Heisler has crawled out of his secret basketball lair to bring you the rundown.
Welcome into the rundown, everyone, as we take a look at some of the best matchups from the weekend in college hoops. Now, today's lesson, unnecessary blackboard material. This week, we had two situations in which two players spewed out more trash than a dejected Oscar the Grouch. UConn's Hashim Thabit made a point that Big East Player of the Year, Notre Dame's Luke Herringody, wasn't tough. Now, that's not too bright, but it was Maryland's Grievous Vasquez that made reference to Duke's Cameron Indoor Stadium as his house. His house! Can't see that one backfiring. Also a great matchup between Houston and Arizona, but we start tonight out west in Seattle, Washington. Anyone feel like Starbucks? UCLA taking on Washington, looking for 5 straight home wins versus the Bruins. There's Drew and Justin Holiday's mom. Who are you going to root for, Mom? Well, right there, it's Justin Holiday, pops open a 3, 39-38 UCLA going into the break, and this time it's Drew Holiday with the trifecta. That's 3 points for him, 42-41 UCLA, but then Isaiah Thomas, 24 points for him. Washington wins. Duke taking on Maryland. Cameron Crazy's getting a little goofy. Kyle Singler getting a little sick. Singler up and in, Duke up 23-11. And there's our boy Grievous Vasquez stripped. That time Singler will take it away from him. And Singler up to Gerald Henderson. He wouldn't make the shot, but he'd get the points. And then Henderson to Singler. Throw it down, dude. 58-20. 58-20. And then Grievous Vasquez stripped again. The heave to Shire. And Henderson puts it back up. Duke, a wallop of a win. They go up 85-44. The worst loss for Maryland since 1963. Houston and Arizona, some chaos going down at the McHale Center. Aubrey Coleman, personal foul. And all of a sudden he says something about Chase Buddinger's mama, making him a little bit hotter than a tomato. Look at that red hair. Here's what happened, though. Dude stepped on his grill. What are you doing? Coleman, by the way, would be suspended for 1 game a few days later. But then Buddinger, buddies up. That's now a 87-81 advantage, but Arizona coming right back. And this time, Jordan Hill. Why isn't anybody talking about him? 30 points, 18 boards. It's now a 3-point game. And then Nick Wise. Dude is smarter than the 3. Arizona wins 96-90. Hashim Thabit, Luke Herringody in a battle of Big East man-children. Herringody off the screen, and that's pretty fly for an Irish guy. He had 24 points, 15 boards. But Hashim Thabit, dude is 7'2" and big for a reason. That's 2 blocks in the word. Get out of my house, just get out. Starts the fast break. Jerome Dyson oops it up to Gavin Edwards. UConn up 49-43. And then Jerome Dyson had himself a ball game. This time goes up, down, and around the clock. And all of a sudden, UConn really closing in on this lead. Inside pass from Jeff Adrian to Kemba Walker. UConn 69, Notre Dame 61. Huskies snapped the Irish 45 home game winning streak. Now one final note here on the rundown. The college basketball world lost a legend last Saturday morning. Kay Yow, the North Carolina State women's basketball coach, lost her 2-decade-long battle with breast cancer. Yow went 733 and 344 for her career, taking the Wolfpack to 20 NCAA tournament appearances. Coach Yow, not only an inspiration to women's basketball players and coaches, but to all who ever knew anyone who ever had to try and fight this terrible illness. Coach Kay Yow was 66 years old. I'm Ben Heisler, and this was The Rundown.
The men's swimming and diving team took their number 8 ranking into Southern Indiana to take on Evansville. The Hoosiers used a pared-down squad so they could give some of their athletes a much-needed break. They were still more than enough to drown the Purple Aces with 67-37. They wrap up their regular season February 7th against Purdue. Speaking of the Boilermakers, the IU women's team took care of business against their in-state rivals at home with a score of 210-159. Kate Zubkova extended her unbeaten streak in the 100 backstroke, and Indiana took the top 3 positions in the 200 individual medley.
The two-day event, known as the Gladstein Invitational, took place over the weekend with positive results for both the men's and women's track and field teams, including a few broken records. Junior Vera Neuenswander broke the women's IU pole vault record, a record in which she had once previously held and lost, by clearing 4.15 meters. Day 2 also presented a record-breaking performance, with Molly Beckwith now holding the Gladstein Fieldhouse and IU records for the fastest 600-meter dash ever, finishing with a sweltering time of 1 minute and 29 seconds. The men had a good second day as well, with senior Jeff Coover improving the season pole vault mark to 5.25 meters, earning him a first-place finish by 1 foot and 2 inches.
In a weekend spent in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the IU water polo team lost 3 matches to ranked teams, including number 3 UCLA, number 5 Cal, and number 14 Cal State Northridge. However, they didn't go home empty-handed and grab their first win of the season against Colorado State. IU had a shutout going until the 4th quarter of this game, but the 2 goals from senior Maggie Hannon helped the Hoosiers hold on to an 11-3 victory. Goalie Katie Carson had 11 saves and did not give up on a goal until less than 4 minutes left in game. The Hoosiers traveled to Palo Alto, California on February 7th to compete in the Stanford Invitational. That's all we got for this edition of Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Kristin Carroll with Casey Richards.
Be sure to tune in the next coming weeks. We got men's and women's basketball. And believe it or not, football is just right around the corner. National Signing Day coming up soon. So be sure to stay tuned with Hoosier Sports Night and IUSTV.com for all of your Hoosier athletics coverage. Thanks for watching and have a great night.